Justice Verma, who's appointed to make recommendations to the Centre on changing criminal laws dealing with sexual violence, received more than 17,000 emails only 8 days after being set up, and hundreds more come every single day. But is that more powerful than the thousands who came out in the streets, bore the lathis and the water cannons, and forced the Prime Minister to make a statement, forced Sheila Dixit to announce fast-track courts and set up a helpline, forced Sonia Gandhi and the Prime Minister to go to the airport and receive the body of the young girl at the airport in a first? So on the social network today, we discuss Delhi gang rape, online protests versus on-ground protests. Now, before we introduce the panel, let's quickly listen in to what Shripal Gandhi has sent us on our discussion.
The internet penetration is not so high in India, and illiteracy itself being such a major concern. Online petitions have a very limited potential. People who access social media are by and large aware of these issues at hand. However, the fact remains that they choose not to exercise their ballot. The ideal solution, therefore, would be to spread awareness in the middle class through online petitions and also simultaneously take to the streets to spread awareness in rural areas with semi-literate and illiterate population with little or no access to the net.
All right, before we introduce the panel, let's quickly take a look at what our second screen looks like, which allows you, the viewer, to participate in our discussion. Send us the questions that you think you like the most on your screens right now. The top questions on second screen, all you have to do is click on second screen on your NDTV app and click on the question that you think you want me to put to the panelists. Now, before we take a look at those questions, let's quickly introduce our panel today. We've got Raheel Khurshid, who's the Director of Communications from change.org, which is fast becoming the one-stop shop for all online petitions. We've got Saikat Ghosh, who's a professor at Delhi University and a very, very strong supporter of the ground protests. We're also joined on voice call by Priyanka Chaturvedi, who joins us from Mumbai, and Namita Bhandare, whose petition is really one of the biggest reasons why we're actually having this show at all. Namita and Priyanka, thank you for joining us. Namita, I want to start with you first. Your petition has got more than 1 lakh signatures. You've submitted that petition to Justice Verma. 1 lakh signatures is far more than the number of people who came out on the streets. Do you think that your petition has that much more impact?
Well, obviously, firstly, I'm sorry, but I have to correct you. We are now at 1,25,000. And though we announced yesterday that we are submitting the petition along with all suggestions to the Justice Verma Commission, we still keep getting, people are still signing in. You know, we've had almost 15,000 signatures added today. That's additional signatures. So I think people just feel that they need to reach out, and we're getting signatures from New Zealand, we're getting signatures from Tehran, we're getting signatures from Canada, we're getting signatures from people, not necessarily all of them Indian, about I would say 98% Indian, but even non-Indian people just have reached out to us. And it's been very, very encouraging.
But Namita, many people talk about the fact that it's very easy to go to open, a petition on your phone, click like or sign your signature, etc. But how many of these people are actually reading these petitions?
Well, I hope all of them are reading it because a lot of them are adding their own suggestions, and we have submitted their additional suggestions as well to the Justice Verma Commission, because we've only made 7 recommendations and there are others. Somebody wants the death sentence. We don't subscribe to that, but they've added those suggestions, and we've included those because this has to be a collective voice. It's a collective manifesto. It's not my petition. It's not change.org's petition. It is a collective,
all right.
Collective manifesto. I just want to
bring you in on that. Of course, this particular petition has also come at a time when the whole country is actually just completely unanimously united on one particular issue. But, the kind of impact that protesters getting lathi charged, even if it's 10 protesters getting lathi charged or water cannon, is always far greater, because you're actually getting out on the streets and demanding something than just getting on your mobile phone and clicking like.
Absolutely. I mean, and the images, when they are beamed on media, the images of these protests are so much more visceral. They connect with such a sense of immediacy that sometimes a petition can't. And therein lies the strength of these protests.
Namita, just really quickly, you'd also demanded that the Parliament, very vehemently, you'd said that the Parliament should actually sit down, call a special session and actually look at these recommendations and, really give this far more focus than would otherwise happen if the budget session started and it just sort of got diverted.
No. I did. When I asked for Parliament to sit in a special session, I should clarify. This was in my individual capacity. That is not one of the recommendations in our petition. It would be dishonest for me to say that 1 lakh people are asking Parliament to sit down. That was just my suggestion. That women's issues tend to always get sidelined, and I would be very happy if at some point Parliament would set 1 week, 10 days, 15 days, whatever it takes to debate pending bills and pass them, through a reasoned debate. We don't want a symbolic session, a real session where they say that this is top priority, Priyanka, nothing else matters.
Priyanka,
I just wanted to add something to what the person ahead of me said, which is that I don't think we live in silos any longer. When we talk of an online petition, it's not just a question of, it's so easy, you click on on your mobile phone and you're off. In fact, most of us are out there on the street and doing online petitions. So it's all working together. It's not just one or the other. So I think that's the point I wanted to make to the gentleman before me.
All right. Saikat, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the fact that social media is a very, very powerful kind of media. But having said that, online petitions are also limited by the kind of focus that they have to keep, because they are action oriented. Now, on ground protests, on the other hand, allow people to have a dialogue with each other. Now, if you look at these protests, ongoing protests, you have different people approaching the same questions, the same issue in very different ways. And all of these people gather in Jantar Mantar or in other parts of the city, and they start talking to each other. They express themselves in different ways, and that dialogue happens, and then that dialogue creates a more comprehensive understanding of the things that are at stake.
And many more nuances perhaps probably come out in on-ground protests. Priyanka, just want to bring you in on that. As far as the government is concerned, we've seen that over the last couple of weeks, since this entire incident happened, it's been a fairly glitched response in many different facets of it. Which do you think has had a harder impact on the government, the on-ground protests or the online petitions, that one of them, of course, being Namita's?
No, what I would like to add here is it's not just an exclusive online petition or what you're seeing, the protests that you're seeing on ground. It is a combination of both, and I've signed Namita's petition myself, and I have been on ground myself in my city. Protesting against.
Priyanka, also, you're obviously acknowledging the importance of these online petitions. But of course, Namita clarified that, while the petition doesn't actually talk about, the special session of the Parliament being convened, but I'm sure many women across the country would actually support that. So should the government respond to that as well then?
No, like she said, she is being talking in her personal capacity. And a session would be needed when we have some core points. Once Justice Verma, as you would see, Justice Verma has been inviting suggestions. They've been, the committees have been inviting suggestions. Even the Home Minister acknowledged that, he asked the opposition parties to contribute their suggestions.
The question, Priyanka, that I'm trying to ask really is that, do you think lawmakers are now acknowledging the importance of these petitions, of basically the social media outrage, and can they afford to ignore them any longer?
No, absolutely. We acknowledge whatever's happening online. The online petitions cannot be ignored. The signatures of 1,23,000 plus are as important as what you see, the protests you see on ground. So it's a combination of both, and it is a combination that will probably lead to the change that we're looking for.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.